Digimon Tri is a dumpster fire.
I can't take all these metaphors!
However, it's an amazing dumpster fire. Spoilers ahead for Digimon Tri, obviously. I loved Digimon Tri, but my god, is it an absolute mess. Like, where do we start? Let's start with Genai. Genai is now evil because, who knows, something to do with King Drazel, who the story seems to believe you should know about, despite him never being shown in the Digimon Adventure story, not even once. This version of Genai is called Dark Genai, and he has a little bit of data left over from Apocalypse, the first final villain of the series.
Why do all of you get the pizza while I get the crust?
So Apocalypse survived. Fancy that. Don't worry, this plot will not go anywhere. But you know what's nifty? Genai plants this little bit of data into Makomon, and it has some subtle design traits that do resemble Apocalypse. I think that's awesome. So long story short, Makomon is the partner Digimon to Mako, a newly introduced Digidestined. She's neat, but Dark Genai, or someone else, has corrupted Makomon by planting Apocalypse's data inside of them, which makes them incredibly hostile when they're away from their Digimon partner for any prolonged period of time, and it will eventually make them insane. If that wasn't enough, they have an autonomous ability to infect other Digimon around them, making them just as hostile and just as aggressive. This pandemic has the potential to spread to every single Digimon and corrupt them, so our Digidestined have to stop this virus from spreading. So eventually, Makomon goes on a rampage and kills Leomon. This should be really heartbreaking, but the kids just kind of shrug it off like, okay. This also happens when they fight Ogremon. Like, there's barely any acknowledgement that Ogremon and these kids have met before and are friends. Whatever. So Genai, disguised as the Digimon Emperor, Kenichi Joji, eventually faces the Digidestined, and believing it's the real Ken, they are obviously confused on why he's doing this. At the start of Digimon Tri, we see the Digimon Adventure 2 kids being defeated by some unknown entity. It's like the story is leading us to believe that Ken has somehow been corrupted, and to add to this credibility, he's also wielding Imperial Dramon. But as they're fighting Imperial Dramon, they don't really react. They're fighting their friend, like this Digimon that they have fought alongside with, and they don't really seem to care. It's not really acknowledged. It should be a super heartbreaking moment that will directly tie into the themes of this story much later on, but we'll get to that. Like, this is Ken and Davis's Digimon. Speaking of Davis, none of them acknowledge that Davis isn't here. They don't acknowledge that he could be in cahoots with the returned Digimon Emperor. It's just a bit weird. So for Digidestined, they're also working with these two agents, Maki Himakawa and Daigo Nishijima, the latter being one of the Digidestined's school teachers. The Digidestined fight Makomon, but all of their Digimon end up infected, and the only way out of this is to reboot the digital world, which will reset the memories of every Digimon, as well as resurrect any Digimon who have died. They are forced to do this, and then the Digidestined have to find a way to rekindle the fire with their partner Digimon. And what's really cool about this is that in the original Digimon Adventure series, when our heroes land on Fire Island, it's like the Digimon know everything about their partners, while the kids know nothing about the Digimon. Now that role is reversed. The Digidestined know everything about the Digimon, but the Digimon don't know anything about the Digidestined. It's a really cool switch. So it turns out rebooting the digital world was actually a ruse by Maki, who has been secretly working with Dark Genai and King Drazel the entire time. As it's revealed, she was once a Digidestined herself, alongside Daigo Nishijima. If you remember back to the original Digimon Adventure series, the Dark Masters had defeated multiple Digidestined in the past. It turns out that two of those Digidestined was Maki and Daigo. Maki's Digimon was unfortunately sacrificed to help fend off the Dark Masters. So after losing her partner Digimon, she set out to reboot the digital world for a chance to get them back. But once she finds her Digimon and her Digimon doesn't recognize her, she slowly starts to go insane, and the Digimon is obviously afraid of her. She finds herself being pulled further and further into the Dark Ocean, and don't know, because the plot point is totally dropped. I guess she's just dead? It really doesn't feel satisfying, and it's totally all over the place. We're trying to tell a good story, right? But it's our memories who make us who we are. And as long as we have our memories, our loved ones who have passed are never truly gone. But I do believe they told it in a very messy way. But the problem here, right, is that means that Myotismon is alive again, and Etamon, the best character in all of fiction.
Oh, I'm gonna lay it on the line because I'm so fine.
Piedmon, and Diaboromon, and I guess the real Apocalypse,
Complete with hot and cold running water.
we should make this entire plan kind of pointless? Oh yes, the plan. Turns out Genai and King Drazel want to destroy the human world and make it so that Digimon and humans can never coexist, because they believe that humanity holds Digimon back. Again, a bit of a flimsy motive. But I'm getting off topic. If these Digimon are back again, are the Digidestined supposed to defeat them all again? Nope, because that part is not explored once again. And yes, I didn't mention Devimon. We will get to that. But in a surprise twist, Makomon still has all of their memories, which means the reboot failed and Makomon still has the ability to infect other Digimon. The sacrifice was all for nothing, and all the Digimon who the Digidestined have ever defeated are now alive again. So Machine Dramon and Metal Sea Dramon appear, two of the original Dark Masters, and the Digidestined have to defeat them again, and this is where our partner Digimon learn to Digivolve once more, showing that their bonds with these chosen children can transcend their memories as long as their heart is in the right place. So whilst this battle is going on, Makomon comes to their senses after being reunited with Mako, and Dark Geni does some really questionable shit to ensure that Makomon will never calm down again. And that's when they fully embrace their darkness. A fight happens where the Digidestined are trying their best not to kill Makomon. In a heartbreaking twist, Mako asks Tai and Matt to put Makomon out of its misery. But Tai and Matt, understandably, are looking for any alternative. And unfortunately, in the fight, it seems that Tai and Daigo die after falling from a cliff. The despair that Kari feels after watching her brother die leads to Makomon absorbing Gatomon and becoming this nightmarish Digimon known as Ordenimon. And Ordenimon is going to destroy everything. So next we have Matt taking over the leader position of the Digidestined, and he tries his best to stay strong, and we see his struggles coming to terms with life without Tai. We see him cry to Gabumon, and it is so expertly performed in both the sub and the dub. It's so sad, and it really does capture the essence of growing up and not knowing what the right path is in life. But Matt steps up and tries his best to make the best decisions he can in the upcoming fight. So during this fight, and it's pure fan service, Devimon is brought back to fight TK. Remember when I said we'd get back to Devimon? Now you'd think that TK would have some kind of emotional reaction to this, right? But he just kind of gets on with it. Remember that time where he beat the shit out of Ken for daring to incorporate Devimon's DNA into Chimeramon? But yeah, I guess he's over the Devimon trauma now. This scene could have been so good. It should not be a throwaway moment. It is pure fan service, but it's not pushed far enough to be truly satisfying. So the Digidestined are presented with a possibility that they're going to have to reboot the human world. And that by rebooting the digital world and the human world, that might be the only way to stop this infection for good, despite what it would cost in the process. I actually felt like this solution was just vague enough to lead into the reboot series, but it doesn't happen, and I'm quite glad, so let's not talk about it. They figure out that all the original memories of the rebooted Digimon are actually stored inside of Makomon, which is why Makomon still has their memories pre-reboot. Why did he have their memories, you may ask? Don't know. It might have been explained and I just missed it. Probably to do with some memory saving shenanigans that Izzy attempted to do. Whatever. Not really important. So anyway, they figure out a way to extract the memories from Makomon and download them to all the other Digimon, which gives the Digimon all of their memories back, and manages to separate Gatomon from Makomon. But something that goes unaddressed here is that now every single villain Digimon who has ever been defeated has knowledge of how powerful they can become and how they were defeated, and in theory would now be able to safeguard against it. So that's Myotismon, Etamon,
'Cause I'm so fine.
Devimon, Piedmon, Apocalypmon, and Diaboromon. They should now all know how to defeat the Digidestined. But again, this is ignored. I don't even remember Devimon actually being defeated on screen. So if that's the case, Devimon is right there with his original memories. It's so unbelievably messy. While this massive battle is going on, one of the saddest scenes in all of Digimon is shown. And I would also say that it's one of the best written as well. Tai and Daigo, who is heavily wounded after being crushed by rocks, are shown in a dark room at the bottom of the digital world. How they got there isn't exactly clear from my memory. I just assumed that they got teleported or something. Tai notices that all of the 02 Digidestined and the real Geni are stored in these stasis pods. And yes, this is confusing. So Dark Geni isn't Geni? What the hell is he then? Digimon Wiki says that he was introduced as Geni, but corrupted by King Drazel. So why is there two of them? Yeah! Anyway, Dark Geni appears and turns off all of the life support systems for Geni and the O2 Digidestined. And he tells Tai and Daigo that the only way to save them is to send them all to Earth. But the catch is, there's only one pod that's left. So Tai and Daigo have to choose who can survive, or everyone dies. A countdown sequence is initiated, and if you don't escape in time, they'll be blown up along with the entire lab. Daigo tells Tai that he's figured out a way to disarm the self-destruct sequence, and tells Tai to get into the open pod. Once Tai is inside the open pod, Daigo sends him to Earth, alongside all the other Digidestined. Daigo sacrifices himself and saves Tai's life against Tai's will. And you really do feel Tai's pain and survivor guilt throughout all of this. This is Digimon at its best, when it focuses on the human relationships and does things that Pokemon would never dare to do. Tai is saved and Daigo dies alone, thinking about his memories as a Digidestined. What's really cool about this is that if we ever did get a Digimon Adventure sequel where Tai is an adult, you know for sure that he would do this to save a younger generation of Digidestined. And it creates this really cool mirror where it's like we're looking into Tai of the future. So the battle continues, and because of plot shenanigans, they can't save Makomon, and they're forced to fight them one last time. And with the help of Mako, Omnimon digivolves into Omnimon Merciful Mode, who then defeats Makomon out of duty. Mako says goodbye to Makomon as they slowly fade away. Now, the problem I have with this is that the story centers around Tai and Matt coming to terms with how they're going to have to kill Makomon, when it should have been Mako, who had already decided episodes ago that it was the right thing to do. I know what they were trying to do. They were clearly going for a coming-of-age story, where things are morally grey and sometimes you have to do the right thing even if it's the thing you don't want to do. But it could have been handled way better, and it should have been told through Mako, not Matt and Tai. And hammering this point home just a little bit more, remember when they were fighting Imperial Dramon? Where was this emotional conflict then? Why wasn't it acknowledged that they'd be killing the Digimon of Ken and Davis? The whole thing is just so tonally inconsistent, and by the time that the ending comes around, everything just feels so bleak and pointless because of the way it's executed. It just feels like everything sucks. It doesn't feel earned. It doesn't feel like the investment into the characters was worth it for the payoff, and the whole thing just feels like it should have had tighter writing, or at least one more movie to wrap things up. So now the fight's over, we see that Dark Geni still has the little bit of data from Apocalypse, which if you remember, is highly questionable because Apocalypse isn't dead. And then we get a line where Dark Geni says, next time I'm going to put Apocalypse's data into Daemon, or maybe Diaboromon. That's a great idea, Geni. Why didn't you do that in the first place? Diaboromon is unbelievably strong, incredibly overpowered, and is the obvious choice to become a digital god of destruction. And instead, you put the data into a fucking cat. 500 IQ plan there, my friend. This plot point is also not explored in the next movie, and it's unknown whether or not we're going to get answers in the new Digimon 02 movie that's about to be released. Which is a shame because there's just so many unanswered questions. What happened to the woman who wanted to bring her Digimon back? What about the newly resurrected villain Digimon who now have their original memories restored? What about Dark Geni? Who the fuck is King Drazel? Actually, King Drazel is from Digimon Data Squad. That's just even more confusing because this is a Digimon adventure story. Now, I am sure that Digimon lore nerds could totally school me on this, but as somebody who would place themselves in the middle of a casual and hardcore fan, it was not at all clear to me who this guy was or why we should care. I don't really believe that this adaptation made any efforts to explain it to us either. Digimon Tri just feels haphazard. I know it sounds so negative because I loved a lot of things about it, but I just know it could have been so much better. They had great ideas, but a lot of them just aren't fully explored. And if you were to ask me, I'd say this is down to the format. So it was originally going to be a 24 episode series, but then it was decided to make it into a series of 6 movies, and after those movies released, it was then again split into 24 episodes. Yeah, you couldn't make this up, but the outline for these huge movie-long episodes is roughly the same as a 24-minute anime episode. So for Digimon, that looks like setup, conflict, digivolve, ending, cliffhanger. And that makes sense because they treated each movie like it was going to be one long episode. But instead of doing this, since they clearly had enough ideas to do a full series, I think it should have remained episodic, had been the same format and episode length as Digimon Adventure 1 and Digimon Adventure 02, so around 50 episodes. It would have flowed a lot better and a lot of these ideas would have had the chance to be properly explored. And what we got was still amazing. I don't want to sound like I'm just poo-pooing everything. I am incredibly grateful to revisit these characters once more, but it could have been so much more. Thankfully, the next movie in the saga, Digimon The Last Evolution, was far more self-contained, and it works far better because of it. I will be reviewing this as well, so if you haven't already, follow us now, and if you want to get jacked or get a sick new cosplay wig, hit us up at bmoshonen.com, link in the bio. And until next time guys, stay prodigious!